Bitcoin is at 62,000. I hope you listeners listened to me over the last year. Nothing but great advice on WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. My co-host is Teddy Covers. We got Adam Trigger. We got Mark Zinno. And we're going to end the show with Hakeem. We're talking college hoops and NBA all day. Teddy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing just fine. Lawrence, yourself?
I get to this point with Bitcoin, dude, and it's like, I don't know what to do, man. I mean, am I supposed to continue holding? I mean, I'm over 20x. I mean, everything I'm reading, there's a shot at 100K in the next few months. I mean, I literally, very rarely is the Prez lost for words. I am lost for words. I don't know what to do, and I usually always know what to do.
Well, let's not worry about it too much on today's show, being that we're talking sports and sports betting here on WagerTalk Today. We appreciate the investment advice, nonetheless. Let's talk some sports and bring in our first guest, Adam Trigger. Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Prez. I got a couple Patriot League games that you could see how much of that you could get down on. Other than that, I don't know what you should do with it. I'm not sure.
But, so you're suggesting that I take my Bitcoin and put it on your Patriot games. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, that's what we're here for, isn't it? So, yeah, I would say 4 or 5% of your Bitcoin should go on it. Like, just keep in line with what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Sure, we'll go with that. Okay. Boston U +7 over Lehigh. I was high last night. What should we do here?
Yeah, so this is one of the I think 5 Patriot League games that are in play today. I believe the conference plays tonight and then again on Saturday, and that's it for the season. But I think it gets lost a little bit how important these last couple games are for the teams in this league. Because remember, guys, this is one of the few conferences in college basketball that still plays their conference tournament at campus venues. So coming into play today, these teams are 4 and 5 respectively. And being the 4 as opposed to being at the 5 in this league is the difference between being at home for a quarterfinal game and being on the road for a quarterfinal game. So these last couple games for seeding are much bigger in a league like this than, let's say, a league where everyone's going to go play on a neutral floor in a week or two. So definitely motivation for both of these teams. And I think both of these teams are interesting cases in the respect that they are now both healthy. Lehigh, completely different team since Keith Higgins Jr. has come back. It's something we've talked about on this show. I know I had a 5%er a little over a week ago on Lehigh, kind of surrounding that, and it won easily. But they've won 5 straight games, and they've actually covered 4 of their last 5. They're blowing teams out, and they look really good. But you could say something similar for Boston University. Anthony Morales comes back 3 games ago, and they're 3-0 since he came back. They've looked much better. It's arguably as good as Boston U has really looked for an extended stretch all season. I also thought it was interesting that neither of these two played in the first meeting between these two teams, and it was a game that Boston University won 72-71. If you go pull up the stats from that game, Prez, as even as it gets, not only did both teams shoot 50% from the field, they both actually shot 26 for 52. A lot of the numbers were very, very equal, but I think the one thing my takeaway from that game was Boston University came back to win that from down 15, and they needed to just knock down a bunch of threes to do it. 10 for 17 from 3. They shot their way back into that game, which really isn't their game. And Morales being back, 6'8", guy that can get in the paint. He can step out and hit an outside shot, but he can get to the rim and score. Gives Boston University a much more balanced attack than they had the first time. I think the spot here is really, really important. I already talked about the implications of, seeding in the Patriot League tournament. But Lehigh just had a massive win over the weekend because Lehigh-Lafayette is a huge rivalry. And so not only did they get the big win over Lafayette, they beat them for the second time. They swept the season series in the rivalry, and they went on the road to do it. So, that's might be a little bit tough for them to come home where they don't really have much of a home court advantage. I think 6-5 this year. I've been to this building. They don't get a huge crowd, and they're suddenly going to have to lay like 6.5 or 7 points. BU grinded out an OT win that was not very impressive over the weekend. Loyola Maryland was missing their best player, and BU still needed overtime to win that game. Maybe a little bit of a wake-up call for them. I just think that 7 points here is crazy. These two teams are very close. They're both healthy. The first meeting was neck and neck, and I'll just be really surprised if one of these two teams can blow the other out. So BU plus the points seems like the play here. I think the Terriers could win this game, and if they don't, they probably stay in it the entire way.
So you talked about BU shooting from 3-point range in that first meeting between these two teams. And certainly when we're talking about a scenario in which somebody had a 15-point lead and then somebody rallied back to beat them, it tells me, even though the stats at the end of the game were comparable, that somebody had an edge and then the other team was able to rally back. But it does concern me when the team that blew the 15-point lead to lose by a single point at the end now get the chance for revenge on their home floor. Does that revenge factor come into play for you at all after this team, blew that big lead the first time out on the highway?
So here's the reasons I'm willing to play, be okay with that. One, the first meeting, like I said, BU didn't have Anthony Morales. He's kind of the one guy that can really get into the paint and score on the interior. They're far less reliant on the three ball when he's in there. He's a 6'8" sort of combo player, but can play as a guard but get into the paint. There's not many of those guys in the Patriot League. So a guy like that being back is really, really important. The other reason I'm kind of okay with it is Lehigh just is in as big of a letdown spot as you could ask for, having just, beaten Lafayette, their rival. And I've been to this arena. There's not much of a home court edge here. They don't get a huge crowd for games. I believe they're 6-5 on this floor this year. And they've blown a couple games as big favorites. I think Army came in here and beat them a couple weeks ago. So certainly not immune to the upset on the home floor. It's kind of the way that this whole league is, Teddy. There's really not that big of a home court at a lot of these places in the Patriot League. So, I just think it's getting priced up for Lehigh's recent run. And so you're probably good getting 7 here.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. And full disclosure, I'm completely obsessed with Bitcoin right now. Just went up $1,000 since the show started. Whoa. Whew. Okay. East Tennessee State +1 over Citadel. Where are we going here, Mr. Trigger?
Yeah, so this is one I added to my client card. I made this a 4% play. Couple things here. So East Tennessee is a team that I kind of, went to the well with a couple times earlier this year, had success with. I even talked about them, and we had a best bet on this show that cashed with East Tennessee. I believe they were playing Wofford. But the thing that's been tough with them to get involved with them is their offense is just so poor that even though they do a lot of other things well, and there's reasons to like this team, the name of the game in basketball is putting the ball through the basket, and they don't do it particularly well. So it's been hard to find good spots to jump in with them. However, I think the Citadel is a nice matchup to do so. So the reason Citadel, I think, is favored here, which was shocking to me, but the reason I think they're favored is their offensive metrics are better. But you have to remember that Citadel is a team that's 3-13 in SoCon play. They score a lot of points in garbage time. Like when they play the upper echelon teams in the SoCon, they're a big underdog, and they're typically playing from behind. So I'm less concerned with the fact that Citadel's offensive numbers are a little bit better, because I just don't think that plays the same way in a close game. The advantage here for East Tennessee State, in my opinion, is is on the interior. They've been a top 50 rebounding team all season. They're just so much more athletic, in my opinion, than Citadel, and should absolutely have the rebounding edge. The other thing I like about them is that same athleticism extends to the defensive end. And on the defensive end, they're going to block shots, they're going to contest shots, and they're going to make it tough for Citadel to score in the paint, which was the undoing for Citadel really in the first meeting between these two teams. First meeting, which was at East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State won that game, but Citadel was 4 for 23 from three. Very 3-point reliant. And that's sort of been the case since Winston Hill's been out for Citadel. He was like a 6'7" forward. He's been out since early January. So they really Citadel gets most of their scoring from their guards. And I think that's going to be a tougher task against an East Tennessee State backcourt that's just more athletic. It's just not what you want to be reliant on when you're playing East Tennessee State. So I also think, to Teddy's point from our last breakdown, East Tennessee State led by 15 in the first meeting. And Citadel made that close because East Tennessee went to the line and bricked like 7 free throws. I think they finished 6 for 13 from the foul line, let Citadel back into the game, and then Citadel eventually ended up backdooring the number, which in that game was they were catching 6.5 on the road. Now this flips to a situation where East Tennessee's on the road and they're getting a point. I just disagree with that. I still think they should be favored. I think some of that might have to do with results from the weekend, where Citadel had a really nice win over Chattanooga and East Tennessee dropped a game. But when you look at the matchup and you look at these two teams, which are both bad teams in this league, I still make East Tennessee closer to like a 2.5, 3-point favorite here. So I thought it was really good value catching a point on the road. This is another building, 6,000 people, probably 1,500, 2,000 there at most. Not a huge home court edge. They're 7-6 at home this season. So thought the wrong team was favored. I jumped in with it. East Tennessee State +1 is a 4% client play for me today.
So we know that Citadel's not a particularly good team. But East Tennessee State, here at the tail end of the regular season, what have they lost? 4 of their last 5. The only win came in non-covering fashion as 19.5-point favorites. Do you worry at all that East Tennessee has let go of the rope a little bit, and they're looking forward to conference tournament play more than closing out their regular season in winning fashion?
I mean, Teddy, it's a great question, and it's absolutely something you should be asking yourself with just about every handicap at this time of year, right? Like, mindset and motivation is really, really important, but I don't think East Tennessee State's lost, like, effort or hasn't been playing hard. I really just think that in this conference, the SoCon, when you look at the top half of this league, I mean, there are some teams in this league that can really score. Greensboro, Furman, Samford, that can just really, I'm forgetting others, but like there are teams in this league, Wofford, that can put the ball in the basket. And East Tennessee State struggles with that. And it's probably why they're at, where they are in the league. So I think when you get them in a matchup against a team that's at the bottom half of the league that isn't as proficient as putting the ball in the hoop as some of these upper echelon teams, it makes them far more competitive. So that's why I'm sort of willing to like give them a break on some of those other results, because it's tough for this team to compete with the likes of Chattanooga, the teams that I've just listed off that can all really, Western Carolina, that can really score. But Citadel's not that team, and they don't do it well inside. So I'm going to bet on East Tennessee's athletic guards to get it done here.
Adam Trigger, what do you have to promote, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm on a 7-1 run with 5% college basketball plays. I have another one tonight. Those have been awesome. Got a winner last night with Vanderbilt +10 was my only play. So a winning day for me after a couple of losing days. I know when I was on the show last week, I was red hot going into the weekend, had a couple of down days. We get a win yesterday, but the 5%ers have been great. I believe that 7-1 is all in 2024 in college basketball 5%. So they've been red hot. Have another one tonight. It's the only thing I have up for sale right now. I gave you East Tennessee State for free, and I believe everyone's got a March Madness special right now, Prez. So should check that out on all the handicappers pages.
Brilliant. Thank you, Adam. Wonderful stuff. We love having you on. See you next Wednesday, same time. Teddy Covers, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting? You're muted, bro. You're muted. That's still muted.
No,
there
not muted
we
anymore.
go.
I'm as human as the rest of us, Prez. It happens once in a while. We'd rather not cough or sneeze on air. Sometimes we mute. That being said, Lawrence, thank you for your patience and waiting for me. And boy, I had a night last night. Your 2 best bets for the clients and a free play last night. You talk about a sweat. First bet, Mavs +4.5 at the Cavs. It's a tight game the whole second half. Dallas leads single digits most of the fourth quarter. The last 4 minutes, the Cavs go nuts. Max Strus hits a three and another, and Donovan Mitchell hits a three and another. It felt like a right side. Now it's a sweat. And then Dallas fought back, took the lead, and then the shot of the year in the NBA for the Cavs to win. Perfect ending. Perfect. If you had Dallas plus the points. And look, if you had a sprinkle of Dallas on the money line, I didn't want overtime in that game. I didn't want to lose by 5 in regulation. We'll take it. Strus equals stress last night. So you got UNLV -5 at Boise. The Rebels are up 5 in the final minute of regulation. What happens? Back-to-back turnovers. They give up a bucket and an and one. Sweated. Stressful trying to get that game into overtime, Prez. And I got an OT. An OT. The Rebels -5. They're up 5 again with less than a minute to play, just like last time. Turnover. Bucket the other way. Oh, my God. Really? Fouled, missed a free throw. Now it's a 4-point game. I need to miss 2 free throws and another miss. And I got it. Free play, Nevada. Easy right side winner, right? Well, they covered wire to wire, but I sure as hell didn't want overtime, and that's where the game was headed. What'd they do? They won straight up on another half-court buzzer beater. I got everything right last night, Prez, and it still took years off my life. That being said, I'd rather get everything right and take years off my life than get everything wrong and take years off my life. Last night, one of those nights where there was a lot of drama, and it all worked out in my favor and that of my client. So all's well that ends well. Lawrence?
Dude, keep talking, man. Bitcoin just went up $1,000 since you started your What Did Bettors Learn? This is like the greatest show we have ever done by far. Every minute, I'm making serious freaking money. Okay, I know people don't care about this, but yeah, wow. I had a shit night last night. Yeah.
The one thing you want to remember is that it's only actual money if you cash it out. Right now, it's still an investment.
What do I do? Guys, put up in the comment section, what would you do? Let's assume you own 3 Bitcoin. 3. No, 12. Let's say you own 12. How many would you sell? Would you ride it out? The halving is coming in April. What do we do? I mean, it is moving at an insane rate right now. It's like Usain Bolt of investments. Teddy, I lost last night. I had the Vancouver Canucks -150. Went into overtime. I was so gutted, brother, but I had an incredible dinner. So there's that, I guess. Let's bring in our next guest, the handsome Mark Zinno. How are you, Mark?
Gentlemen, always great to be with you. And I am learning more about Bitcoin now than I ever thought I knew.
Why didn't you know anything about Bitcoin? What would you don't want to take advantage of the greatest gold rush in history of civilization?
You know, I reserve my aggressiveness for different areas of my life than something that is not a whole area that I have a lot of expertise in there, Prez. I mean, you know, I take risks where I know I can afford to take them, and I don't know much about Bitcoin. The one experience I had with it was not good.
Yeah, so I guess you handle all your own stocks, right?
No, I have a professional do that.
Oh, so you know nothing about what you're putting your money in at all, but
No,
you'll allow
that's
a
not true.
professional to do it,
So
right?
I
Got
have
it,
a conversation
Zeno.
with the professional about what stocks we want to buy and which ones we want to sell and what the market is doing. And I study that. I just haven't studied Bitcoin.
Okay, my brother. Well, let's move on because Teddy's sick of this convo. Hopefully, you're good luck and we get Bitcoin up even another $1,000. We love having you on, Mark. You're an exceptional handicapper. Let's get into our first of 2. Memphis, you've got a bet for us on them. What is it?
Yeah, interesting. I'm going a little bit different here just because I didn't really love too much on the NBA board here, but I'm going to look at Memphis's team total. And I am going to take the team total over Memphis, which is at 98.5. Now, Memphis, for the last 2 games, has been held under 100 points. They're the least efficient offense in the league, and they're banged up. But I think we're getting a depressed total that we can take advantage of here. They were held under 100 points in 3 consecutive games just once this year. It was in late November before John Morant came back from his injuries. And at that point in time, the Grizzlies were more struggling to figure out who they were and what they were. Now, at least, this lineup that is in there now has had enough time to play with each other. They understand the rotation. They know each other a little bit better. There's some semblance of understanding what the offense is supposed to look like. Since December 1st, the Grizzlies have been held to under 100 points on the road just 3 times compared to 7 times at home. This season, they've been held to 100 more at home than they have on the road. T-Wolves didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns last night. They probably won't have him again. And even playing a bottom 3 offense like the Spurs last night, San Antonio still got over 100 on Minnesota. I think they do the same here. I think this total is way too low here. And even if Minnesota doesn't, push the pace at all, which they likely won't, I still think it's a lot to ask to keep the Grizzlies under 100 in this spot.
So I had a pretty big bet on Memphis the other night against Brooklyn. And you can talk about ugly offensive showings. That game was over. It was 9-2 off the opening tip, and the game felt over. Memphis is off. I mean, literally, yes. I was like, it was as weak an offensive showing for any team in the association I've seen all year. There's no point guard play. All their point guards are hurt right now. The low post play isn't there. And the offensive game plan for Memphis, playing with a bunch of G Leaguers, is limited right now. They're going up against, we can call Memphis or Minnesota the best defensive team in the league? One of the best defensive teams in the league. So we have an inept offense going up against an elite defense. You're going to have to sell me on this twice because I didn't get sold the first time.
Again, you had an inept offense last night against an elite defense in San Antonio, and they got to 105. You had an inept offense in Portland against an elite defense in Minnesota. They got to 109. The Bulls got to 129. Orlando got to 108. It's really hard to hold NBA teams under 100. And let's just look at the total for this game. It's crazy how low this number is. It's 210, 209 and a half. And even for Minnesota, they haven't seen a total this low in a long time. I just think there's an overreaction to Memphis going back-to-back games under 100 here, and 3 out of 5 for that matter. But again, all 3 of those were at home, not on the road. So they've actually been better on the road than the Memphis Grizzlies have. And I think we just get an overreaction in the line to this thing being too low. I made the number close to 101, 102, and I think they break that too as well.
Mark Zinno joining us, everyone. Mark, I was on Memphis a couple of days ago. That did not go well. Before we get into your next bet, what do you have to promote for the clients?
On a very good 11-5 college basketball run here over the last 2 weeks. We've been very, very hot. And had I not taken 2 gut punch under losses in the NBA last night, I still may be number 1 over the last 30 days in NBA, but I'm definitely top 3 in NBA handicapping over the last 30 days. So we've been very, very good as of late, both in college basketball and in the NBA. Got a 4% play up in college hoops tonight over at the site, wt.buzz/MZ.
There we go. Denver Nuggets, -4. First half bet. Regale us, my friend.
Yeah, I didn't love the NBA board from a numbers perspective for the straight sides and totals, so to speak. So I kind of looked for some different angles to approach the games here. And strangely enough, the Nuggets and Kings are playing their final game of the regular season series between them. Guys, I don't know if you know this. Kings won of all 3 meetings so far. They've won all 3. The last one in Denver. Now, I don't buy much into narratives that the Nuggets, Nuggets won't get swept by the Kings, right? Well, yeah, actually, they can get swept. So I don't buy into that. But I just approach this from a different perspective and cut the game in half. Denver at home, clearly a different team, 22-5 straight up on the year. They score over 60 points in the first half on the season. Now, the Kings offense, very good. They could put up 60 points in the first half on the road as well. But the last game these two teams played in Denver, if you guys remember, it's back on Valentine's Day. The Nuggets held a 53-41 lead at halftime. 12-point lead. Now, they blew it in the second half and lost outright. Denver is a very good shooting team. They'll take advantage of a bad Kings defense here that allows opponents to shoot nearly 49% from the field on the road this season. I do think Denver will be extra motivated here, guys, to put up or have a good start in this game to make sure that they're not playing from behind. It'll put them in control. They've been very good in the first half. I generally, for the game, guys, I think the number doesn't matter. I think the Nuggets probably win big or the Kings win outright. And Denver hasn't been good at covering numbers this year on the whole, which is another reason why I back him in the first half here. 4 is a very comfortable number for me when playing the first half numbers. So I got it early. I think it's moved up to 4.5. I'd still endorse it at under 5. But Denver -4 in the first half here. A client play for me on my page that I give it out to you guys for free here today as well.
So we've got De'Aaron Fox is questionable for Sacramento tonight. Obviously, in theory, you'd rather have him not on the floor than on the floor if you're looking to bet against the Kings. But does Fox's injury move the needle for you at all? I mean, my number on the game was only 5, and then you throw in the factor in the Fox injury and whatever. And that's, the factor in the Fox injury, you throw a couple of points in there. But we certainly like the spot for Denver. But the point spread to me looked a little bit high. Talk to me about De'Aaron Fox. Do we like him either way? Or is this only if he's in or only if he's out?
No, I like it either way. Again, what Denver did last time to Sacramento to start the game off really set the tone for the whole thing. I don't know what happened after halftime. I mean, honestly, I shut the game off because I remember betting the first half in the same exact spot and watched Denver. And then I remember commenting to Brian Power because we both ended up playing Denver in the first half saying, thank God we did that because it went sour pretty quickly. I don't think De'Aaron Fox necessarily matters here. This is about the Nuggets scoring more than anything else on a bad Sacramento defense. There's enough Nuggets defense to keep the Kings in that low to mid 50s range. If they're clearing 55 Sacramento, we're going to be on the wrong side of this thing unless it's just a complete barrage of scoring. But I trust the Denver defense to keep Sacramento in the low 50s, and Denver should get to their normal total of about 60, and we get out of Dodge here with a W.
Mark Zinno, no disrespect. I'm glad you're leaving. Bitcoin has dropped $1,000 since you came on. I'm blaming you.
You
should have sold, Prez.
With no disrespect, get the hell out of here. Go. Thank you, Mark Zinno. Teddy, no daily presidential address today. There's 2 NHL games. Both are gigantic favorites. New York Rangers and Edmonton. I mean, if people want to parlay them together, money line bet, I have no issue with that. But let's see if we could get to 100 likes after telling everyone there will be no daily presidential address. What do you got for us on your big game breakdown?
Absolutely. Big game breakdown time. Let's talk some NBA for Wednesday night. The Dallas Mavericks and the Toronto Raptors. Look at the WagerTalk live on screen right now. We just seen a little bit of money for Toronto. There were 3s across the board. Now I'm seeing Dallas -2.5 pretty much across the board. Total 237.5 in most locations. The Raptors coming off their 3rd straight victory. That's the first time all season that they've won 3 times in a row. And what were the quotes out of the locker room after they won their 3rd straight game? Well, the coach is taking us for pizza. A little bit of R&R, a little bit of exhale. Not necessarily a dig deep spot, more of a fat and happy spot for Toronto. When we look at the Dallas side of the equation, well, let's start by thinking about the Pistons last night. Remember, they lost at the Knicks 2 nights ago when they got tackled on the court and there was no foul called and lost the game. And, oh my God, horrible situation. Second of back-to-backs. They're double-digit dogs. What'd they do? They're +11. They're hungry. They won the game outright. Of course, it helped the Bulls were 2 or 29 for three-point range. But you get my point. The team off the frustrating loss, the demoralizing loss, came to play the next night out. The crushing loss didn't crush them. It made them hungrier and more focused. So here's Dallas, who won the game in Cleveland last night and then gave up a 60-foot buzzer beater to Max Strus after the game. Dallas has been great off a loss, 15-9 straight up, 15-9 ATS in this role. They have outright upsets over the Sixers, the Hawks, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Warriors in recent tries. The quotes after last night's loss: hungry, focused. This isn't a team that's going to lay down on the second of back-to-backs. The team's going to go get a win north of the border. Give me the Mavs minus the small spot against a fat and happy Toronto team. It's chalk worth laying. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Let's bring Skee Profit in. Let's keep the show moving. I woke you up today, bro.
Yeah, It's early here on the West Coast, and I like to have a good time at night. So it's surprising to wake me up at 8 something in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, obviously, I didn't roll over and wake you up. I called you on the phone. So what is a good night for Skee Profit? 3, 4 women? Tell us about Skee Profit and a good night.
Well, I'm not gonna go that far. It don't have to be 3 or 4. I just like to enjoy. I can enjoy myself with one. I can enjoy myself with a nice lady and nice little something to drink, etc., etc. So,
What is your
nice
drink
night.
of choice?
Oh, people know this. Absolutely. If you've ever seen me or hung with me, it's the same thing every single time. Tequila and pineapple every single time.
Wow, man. Oh, to be young, dude. With all that, pineapple juice has more sugar than sugar. For you, it doesn't matter. But if Teddy and I drank pineapple juice to get drunk, we would blow the hell up. Although
Teddy can hang.
Teddy's never really put much weight on. Yeah. No, Teddy can't hang. Okay, brother. Listen, let's jump right into your second bet because, your first one, because Mark Zinno got on the show and he told us he likes the Denver Nuggets -4 first half. You like the Denver Nuggets in the first quarter. Talk to me about your bet and why it isn't the first half bet.
Well, I agree with Zeno's pick on the first half as well. I think it's an early and often kind of deal. But specifically for me, the first quarter, why I like it is, he mentioned they've played this team 3 times so far this season. They've lost every single time. Now, in those meetings, it's been a shorthanded Nuggets team or an unrested Nuggets team, or all, or both. So you look at this game today, they have the rest advantage. Their starting 5 is fully healthy, and they've been playing good basketball. They've won their last 3 games by double digits. This Nuggets team has the best first quarter margin at home in the association at plus 5.1. And when I think about this Nuggets team, why that is, you see Jokic out there for pretty much the entirety of the first quarter. So when you have the best player on the court out there for a majority of, the full 12 minutes, that's the side I prefer to be on. They also have the altitude advantage for them at the house. And I'm just not really liking what I'm seeing from this Kings team. Out the break, they're still the 27th defensive rated team. They could be minus De'Aaron Fox tonight. That's another minus for them in the first quarter. So I just think the Nuggets step on them in the first quarter and never look back. So I agree with Zeno, and I like them early and often.
So we've seen Sacramento as an underdog twice in recent weeks. They beat Denver at Denver in the game that you talked about earlier, and then they beat the Clippers by 16 in LA. So they've been pretty good underdogs of late. We've got Sacramento coming off a loss. They've been pretty good coming off a loss this season. Do either of those 2 factors come into play here as this look? Denver's got this game circled because the Kings have beat them 3 times already, and the Nuggets are coming out with force. Or do we worry at all that Sacramento maybe just has their number a little bit?
No, I'm not worried about any of it. As far as those 2 games that were mentioned with Sacramento as a dog, they caught both of those teams shorthanded. The Clippers, I believe, were missing Paul George and maybe another piece, and the Nuggets in that last matchup were missing Murray and KCP. So that doesn't really impress me. This time around, and to the point again, they've already beaten them 3 times when they were banged up. No KCP, no Murray one game. Unrested, no Porter Jr., no KCP another game. And unrested, no Murray another game. They have the rest advantage tonight. They're fully healthy. I'm not worried at all.
Skee Profit joining us, everyone. Skee, the Pelicans, you like a first half bet here. They're playing the Pacers plus 3.5. Tell us why.
Yeah, this one, I always am very transparent, and I'll let you guys know that I have not actually put this one in my pocket yet, but I did want to talk about it. And the Pacers have been a team that I fade whenever I feel like, they're a team I think that does not deserve to be laying too many points. You look at their last 9 games laying more than 5, they've only covered 2 of them. why aren't they good in that role? Because they don't play a whole lot of defense. In my mind, if you can't trust a team to get stops, how can you expect them to win by any kind of a margin? So that already turns me off of Indiana. But the one thing I'll mention is this Pacers team doesn't get a whole lot of national TV games. The few that they have gotten, they've came in and performed pretty well. Now, with that said, I still don't know that I trust them in this spot. Pelicans are the better team, in my opinion. They are on a back-to-back, but they're healthy. They're playing good basketball, and they've been dominant in the first half. I wish I had the ATS numbers in front of me, but I know the first half margin, the Pelicans are plus 5.3 compared to minus 0.5 for Indiana. Indiana's been a better second half team all year long. And the more that this game goes on, with the Pelicans being on a back-to-back, the more it favors Indiana. I prefer the team who's going to play the better defense, the team I think is better, for 24 minutes before they maybe get a little bit tired from their game last night. I think the Pelicans plus 3 or plus 3.5 in the first half is the way to go in this game.
So I ran into this quote from Zion Williamson after last night's blowout win over the Knicks in New York. Quote, "This was my first time playing at Madison Square Garden when there were no COVID restrictions. New York is the mecca of basketball. Playing here for the first time was dope, even though I fouled out." And of course, they went on and just destroyed the Knicks in the second half of that ball game. Ended up being an easy blowout winner if you had the Pelicans in that contest. But when you have a team that's coming off a big blowout win where they were clearly focused and the effort was there, and now it's the second of back-to-backs, and they're going against a Pacers team that laid an egg last time out. Oh, and by the way, Zion's a question mark, Ingram's a question mark, McCollum's a question mark. Do any of those concern you for this?
You make good points. And the only thing that I'll say that I'll counter with this is, and you know this, Teddy, when there's a play that just continues to win and win and win, you play it until it stops winning.
Yeah.
And that's been a Pelican. I get everything you're saying, and I can agree with some of it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the Pelicans can hang for 24 minutes.
Skee Profit, thanks for joining us, brother. What do you have to promote?
Promotion. Well, I have won. Let's see. I'm 53 and 31. My last 84 NBA plays, and I do have a 4% up and available tonight. 4% have hit above 70%. My last 77. So there's a play that I absolutely love to. It's up and available on my page. Check it out at WagerTalk.com.
Wonderful stuff. Teddy Covers, we're going to end early, brother. No daily presidential address, as I mentioned. Only 2 games today. Both are massive, massive favorites. The New York Rangers playing Columbus, Edmonton playing St. Louis. I got nothing for anybody on those 2 games. What do you have to promote?
Well, we're locked and loaded right now. I already have a single NBA best bet of 4% up this evening, as well as one in college hoops. We may add a little bit more to the card in the moments after the show. So right now, 2 plays locked and loaded off a perfect sweep last night. We'll see if we can keep it rolling on Wednesday.
Kick ass, my brother. What a fun show. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching. I have a big afternoon ahead of me. Teddy, take us home.
Yeah, big afternoon watching your Bitcoin money go up and down. That's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, live noon back east. Between now and tomorrow's show, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the games, and best of luck.